Hey guys, Sovereign Jane Jenkins here, the author of P Policy, which is about setting boundaries and maintaining self respect, a self help book to elevate the consciousness of young women in society. So let's get into it. Today, I want to talk about how a lot of women have decided to put off dating because they want to focus on their healing process. And for a lot of those who've had multifactorial trauma, knows that that's best to focus on that journey by themselves and continue to put the emphasis on their healing throughout their journey of living. Because let's be honest, life is so difficult sometimes to where we oftentimes neglect ourselves because we want to stay busy and not do the hard work, the work that it takes to actually become whole individuals. Because a lot of us don't know who we are. We just stay busy to ignore the fact that we don't know where we're going and what we want to achieve as individuals. Okay? And that's where self-actualization comes into play. Self-actualization means becoming the top, very best person that you could ever become in this life. That means you achieved everything that you were born to achieve. You have made it to a pinnacle in your life that where you look around and you don't see another mountain to climb. You are at the top of the mountain. Now, some people like to argue that the mountain never ends. There's always a bigger mountain, and you have to go through the peaks and valleys and keep going through it over and over again. But it depends on what you want for yourself. Do you want to keep striving for something? Every blue moon, every time you achieve one goal, do you want to go for something else? Or will you ever be satisfied at one place, in one place? That is the question. And that comes along with healing. And you know, a lot of women have chosen to put dating on freeze and on ice because they recognize that a lot of them need to focus on those wounds that are still open and still need bombs. And a lot of women also have pinpointed the fact that if they keep going through the same things over and over again and not learning the lessons, they're going to end up hurting themselves worse in the end. And a lot of women are tired. They're tired of having to heal over and over again from the things that they've already learned. So therefore, they're not allowing anyone to break them again. Is that fair? Life isn't fair, so it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, your true allegiance is to yourself. And I think a lot of women are starting to realize that and recognize that. So a lot of women have transitioned to becoming more selfish instead of selfless. So therefore, they're choosing not to have children. They're choosing not to contribute to the household 50-50. They're choosing to just be by themselves and keep continuously healing and working on themselves and going after their personal goals and their personal ambitions. Is there anything wrong with that? No. Because we're going into a new frontier and a new world order to where every man alive today is not going to be able to pass along his genes. And if you look at the statistics nowadays, women are outpacing men in education as well as in buying homes. And single women are outpacing them in both areas. And a lot of women have been burned and hurt to the point to where they don't want to open up again. They don't want to go through the first date questions. What's your favorite color? What do you like to eat? They don't want to keep going through that same process over again because they know it doesn't yield anything that is worth it in the end. Because what is the worth of something to where you have to keep erasing it and doing the process over and over again with somebody new? A lot of the women that have healed and are continuously focused on their healing, because healing is an everyday thing, it's an everyday process, it's a daily event of choosing to be the best version of yourself, choosing not to react to the trauma from your past, choosing not to blame anybody from the trauma for the trauma of the past. Healing is going through and assessing the fact that something needs to be covered, something needs to be reassured within yourself, and sometimes it comes from that inner child. If you've been hurt as a little girl, oftentimes you have an inner child wound and you're focused on that wound instead of focusing on somebody else. And especially in your older adulthood and you continue to grow and go through life and realize that Healing is a continuous process. So therefore, you don't want anybody coming into your life to re-traumatize you and cause you to have to heal once again from a wound that you shouldn't have had to begin with. And you don't want to have again. And that's perfectly okay. And I tell you one thing, me personally, once I reached that pinnacle, that peak of healing, I've only accepted healthy people in my life because I don't want to be continuously re-triggered or re-traumatized. Healing is a lot of work. It is a daily recognition of reprocessing old traumas. That's what it really is. And that is not easy. It's not easy looking in the mirror and saying, I feel this because of this, or this person made me feel this way, and I don't really know how to approach this person in a healthy way, so I'm just going to focus on forgiving them and letting it go, but at the same time brainwashing myself into letting myself think that it's okay, that I will eventually get to a place to where I won't even react to them anymore because I've handled that trauma and that trigger, because that trauma and trigger is a personal factor for me. It's not about them. It always comes back to me. So in a way, you're stripping people of their power and their ability to traumatize you. That's what healing is in one sense. Now, the definition of healing is a process of becoming well again, either physically or emotionally, after an injury or illness. And it involves restoring health, mending damaged tissues, and potentially overcoming negative emotional states. A lot of women are focused on their emotional states and the result of their emotional states being stressed to the max due to relationships in the past that have maxed out their emotional esteem and essentially made them feel like they wasted their time and wasted their emotional energy on that person, especially if it doesn't work out. A lot of women are choosing to pour that energy back into themselves and focus on the things that they need to fix and the places that they want to go and the things that they want to achieve and the things that they want to see in this lifetime. So you won't find these women out every other weekend at the club trying to meet somebody, because these people have found a way to be whole within themselves and be independent and not worry about finding a partner because they've already found themselves. And for them, that is the most healthy route because they're less triggered and less traumatized, and they're not in a place to where they're able to compromise their emotional esteem again, because emotions are a part of the body. Like, we're a mind, body, spirit, and emotions. And if a person doesn't really cover their emotions, then they don't handle that trauma that's sitting there in the background. Are they truly ever going to be healthy in a relationship? No, because there is levels to trauma. For some people, being re-triggered and being re-traumatized means they're going beast mode. They're not going to react well. They're not going to respond well. And they might even get physical. So these people that are easily triggered and easily traumatized know their limits. And sometimes they're able to handle situations of pressure even better because they know their limits. And they know that they can survive whatever happens to them. Sometimes they have these mechanisms of self-soothing. And they know how to soothe themselves so they don't have to be re-triggered and be re-traumatized on a monumental scale. They're able to walk it back and talk themselves down off of that ledge based off the skills they have learned. And essentially, this book was me learning to self-soothe. It is a great read. It is on Amazon, Kindle, and other online platforms. Check it out. And the website that you can always go get your free chapter is boundariesandetachment.com. I'll be tagging that below. As always, love always, Sovereign Jane Jenkins. Peace.